Hey guys, this is Miss Smith. We're going to be doing 14.1 personal budgets. Alrighty, so starting out with the vocab at the top, everything in red is what you're filling in. Alright, so a budget is something that it's a plan to help reach your financial goals. So if you're trying to save money, of course you want to be on a budget. A lot of people are on budgets to make sure they can live from week to week to make sure they have enough money. Okay, so next is net monthly income. This is the amount of money a family has after taxes are deducted. Okay, this is the same thing as net pay. So this is how much, a whole family makes in a month instead of what we were talking about net pay of, what I make in a month from, after all taxes are deducted, what I make personally. This is talking about what a family makes after all taxes are deducted. So this would be gross minus deductions would give me net pay. This is the same thing for net monthly income. Okay, so plan savings. This is exactly what it means. You plan to save. So this is the money you have left over to save for maybe college. Definitely need to save money for emergencies. Save money for, tax day just in case your federal withholding isn't enough to cover your taxes. So that's another thing, and for retirement. So these are all things you might want to plan to save for. Income, this just means amount of money you earn working at a job. So I make an income being a teacher. Doctors make a really high income compared to me, but they earn money working, as a doctor, and then an accountant works, at a business place to make money for his job. So income just means the amount of money you make. All right, so expenses. Expenses mean you're deducting money. So this means subtraction. So expenses are, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year, so this is what you subtract from money you currently have in your bank account. Okay, there's two types. There's fixed expenses and variable expenses. Fixed expenses are spending money on particular items, occurs regularly, and doesn't change from month to month. So examples of fixed would be your rent, house, or car payments. And etc. There are a few other fixed expenses. Fixed expenses remind me of bills. Like your parents pay bills each month. These are definitely your fixed expenses. So when I was living in downtown Fort Worth, if I didn't pay rent, at my apartment, I had to pay a late fee, and they kick you out if you don't pay your rent. Same thing with house payments and car loan payments. You definitely have to pay those. So this does not change, and you have to pay month to month. Okay, another type of expense is variable expenses. This occurs regularly, just like fixed, and can be necessary for living, but you have some control over the amount of spending. So fixed expenses, set. You have to pay this amount per month to live in this house or rent it. But variable expenses can change according to what you want to spend. Like if I go to Charming Charlie's and spend money on clothes, if I don't have that money that much, you think I'm going to spend that much at the mall? No, but I still, of course, need clothes to live. I hope we all have clothes. Entertainment, this is like going to the movies. Like if you go to the movies with your friends, you might not be able to go that month because your parents might not have money. So it just depends on, how much you have that month. The amount of food, maybe you won't go to the restaurant with your friends because you don't have enough money, and so forth. So this can all be controlled. Variable expenses can be controlled. Okay, so let's do some examples. What do you think snacks would be? Very good. It would be a variable expense. I don't have to have hot Cheetos today. It just depends on if I have, enough money to get it. What about rent each month and a mortgage? Yeah, that is a set amount bill. So this is a fixed. Okay, it's set. Auto insurance. Just in case something happens, you pay, a bill each month to make sure you pay off your insurance. Very good. That would be fixed. Groceries. Very good. That would be variable because, I don't have to buy that cake if I don't want to buy that cake, right? Because it just depends on how much money I have. Clothing, very good. That'd be variable. Utilities are like pay for your water at your house, the electricity, and so forth. So that is a bill. So that would definitely be a fixed. Okay, now that we got that, we are going to work from a circle graph today. So I have changed entertainment and housing. So when we get to those two, ignore what the circle graph has on it because I changed yours, and I'll make sure I address that. But just make sure if it says this on there that, just mark it out. Or I'm going to mark it on here. Yours is already marked out. Okay, so use the circle graph to complete the table for the Baker's family monthly budget. So we've been talking about individual net pay and things like that. So now we're talking about, full families' monthly budgets. So their net monthly income is $4,000. Okay, so you're going to fill this in as I go through this because I have blanks for you to fill in, and I'll underline it as I go. So step one is we're going to enter the income in the table. Now, I'm going to go through this pretty fast because you'll have no idea what this means until we get done. So you're going to read these over once we get finished with the whole MTV thing. So make sure you read this again because you're not going to know what this means right now. Okay, enter the percent or amount of money for each category from the circle graph in the table. Step 3, calculate the amount of money or the percent for each category in the table. So this depends on what your question's asking for. So those two will just depend. Okay, number 4, determine which expenses are fixed and which are variable. So fixed and variable. So we're going to place a check mark. We're going to place check mark instead of an X in the appropriate columns. Then number 5, complete the amount available column, and this is going to be complete the amount available column by subtracting. So I want you to add this because I forgot to add this to y'all's. So that last column is going to be found by subtracting from what we just got. Okay, so I want you to read over this again because I bet you don't know what that means until we get finished with the whole thing and then reread it. Okay, so we're going to fill out this table. We're going to do each of these individuals as examples as we go. So I'm going to go closer up so we can see it. Okay, with a circle graph, what do you see in a circle graph? Good, you see percents, don't you? So if you see percents, which circle graphs are all about percents, this means you are going to use a PW chart, always with percents, okay? All right, so we're starting out with this. I need to find out how much I'm paying for house cost. Now I want you to mark, or I'm going to mark this out. I put this as 35%, okay? So 35% of my housing is spent on my housing cost or my mortgage. So first we got to fill this out. What's our net monthly income? Very good, $4,000. What percent is that? Well, it's 100% right now until we start spending these expenses, right? So net monthly income is neither fixed or variable expense because it's not an expense. This is how much I get. So it is plus. It's a good thing. So the amount available is $4,000. Alrighty, here we go. So I need to find out how much is 35% of 4,000. So this is all review. We have done this for the past 3 weeks, so we better know how to do this. Okay, so notice how my W is always going to be my net income or my net family income. So I put this here for you guys. So it's going to be different for every problem, but I put it for you guys for our MTV. Okay, so what are we trying to find? Good, we're trying to find how much out of 4,000, what is 35% of 4,000? So cross multiply. I'm going to do this super duper fast. Cross multiply. 100 times x is equal to 140,000. All right, cool. 140,000. So now, next step, divide by 100 for each side. I showed my class a shortcut, which you just move your decimal over. So how much money do I spend? What is 35% of 4,000? How much money do I spend on just housing? Very good. 1,400. This is exactly what we've been doing. So let's, what is housing cost? Is it a fixed expense or a variable expense? Good, it's a fixed expense. And then how much money am I spending? Well, we figured out it was $1,400. So now what do? Well, I got to figure out how much is available now after I spent that money on my housing. So now over here, this is going to be my subtraction. So I'm going to subtract what? $1,400 to get my new, which would be 4,000 minus 1,400 would equal $2,600. So this is where I am at now. Now let's go to food. Okay? Food, now I don't have this all filled out. I'll go back to the other first one, but we just need to figure out what we have first. Okay, so with food, I know that I spend 15% on food. Now I'm not going to go through this with you guys because I know, or we should know how to do this. This question is definitely review. So I want you to pause me and figure out what 15% of 4,000 is. Okay, very good. Welcome back. Hope you paused me. So now this would equal $600 spent on food each month. Okay, so now let's go back. I'm going to use my first table. So now for food, I spend $600, which 15% of 4,000 would equal 15% of 4,000 is 600. So now I'm going to subtract 600 over here to figure out how much I have in my bank account now, which would be $2,000. Very good. So what is food? Is it a fixed or is it a variable? Okay, we need it to live, but it is a variable expense because we can control how much food we buy in a month. Okay, now let's skip over to the new thing. This is new, but it's the same process that we've been doing. So don't overthink it. It's really easy. It's just you are finding now, we're trying to find the percent. Okay? Because I want you to change, because saving is 320. So where do you think I put 320 here? Well, if I'm trying to find the percent, because it just gave me an amount, I'm looking for the percent here. So 320 is going to be above, it's going to be where my P is because it's part over whole equals percent over 100. So now all we do different is you're going to cross multiply, and instead of having 100 on this side, you're going to have 4,000 times x. I'm going to take that x out since I just wrote it. And then you have 100 times 320, which multiplying by 100 is pretty easy. You just add zeros. So I'm going to add 1, 2 zeros. Okay? Now, instead of, like we used to do, divide by 100 by each side, now we're dividing by, what is this called? Coefficient. To isolate my variable, I'm going to divide by 4,000 on that side to isolate x and do the same thing on this side. Okay? Now a trick I showed my kiddos is mark out your zeros. So now what is 320, or I can mark out one more. What is 32 divided by 4? Awesome, 8%. So that's how I find percent. The only difference is that there really is no difference. You're just having to divide by a different number than 100 because you have different cross products. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So my savings is going to be 8%, and it told me 320, so this is 320 here. And then is savings going to be a fixed expense or is it going to be a variable expense? Well, it's going to be a fixed because you got to figure out, how much do you want to save? Now, it's always great if we accidentally save money because we didn't spend too much in a month, but savings is always, something that you need to plan for. One of our vocab words, plan savings. So now I need to subtract 320 over here, and I hope you can see this. I know there's a lot of red. So, 2,000 minus 320 would give me 1,680. Okay, so now we're going to go to entertainment, and we're trying to find our X. Now I need you to mark this is not what is on your sheet. So entertainment would cost $160. Now it's changed on yours. I just need to change it on mine. So now I want you to fill it out. Part over total, so 160 over 4,000. And I want you to tell me what the percent is, and we're going to check it in class. Okay? So same process. Cross products equal each other, and then you're going to divide by your coefficient. Okay? All right, guys. I know y'all are going to have a lot of questions because this is something, kind of new, but don't overthink. It's the same thing, okay? I hope y'all have a wonderful night. Make sure you scroll down and answer all the questions and submit.